I'm Josh.
I'm Jock.
And I'm Max.
Today we're going to be assessing whether Genesis 1 to 3 is consistent with science.
So basically there are three different ways to read Genesis. There's the literal reading, the day-age reading, and the literary reading. And these readings all have different ways and all have different consistencies with science. And our job today is to explain how these views are consistent with science and how they differ from science.
First of all, it is our job to briefly explain what content lies in Genesis chapter 1 to 3. Genesis is the start of the Bible and commonly includes events done by evolution and the days 1 to 7.
So in the beginning of Genesis, the Bible explains how God brought the features of the earth that we know into the world, such as light, water, sky, land, people, and living creatures. In chapter 2, the Bible goes into description about Adam and Eve and how they were born into the Garden of Eden, where they were faced with many temptations.
So there are a few consistencies with science and Genesis 1 to 3 through the day age through. It's kind of the midway point between. The outright believing of the Bible and the story of creation through the Bible, and the outright believing the story of creation through science. The one main point which it kind of disproves is the idea of evolution. And this is a point that we know is true through the use of carbon dating and the discovery of fossils, which show species that are like us and we have evolved from. One thing that has been said is that by the book, which is Creation and the Flood by Dr. A. Young, who's a Christian geologist, he said if such an overlap between science and Christianity exists through the day-age reading, then all apparent discrepancies between Genesis and 1 and science would have fallen away. He believes that there are still a few points that aren't 100% clear, but most of the story is clear.
Throughout Genesis 1 to 3, the literary reading uses primarily poetic and metaphorical language to connect with science better, rather than the literal meaning completely going against scientists, as it is not lenient throughout Genesis 1 to 3. This can refer to the 7 days as not being 24-hour periods of time, as this can mean that the days can be referred to again as ages, such as Stone Age, Silver Age, and Iron Age, and etc., or just generally longer periods of time. For example, 45 billion years could equal 1 day in Genesis. Due to this, it considers to be coexistent with science, as the theories of evolution in science can very much coexist, as the reading is very lenient and can accept that days might be longer periods of time, while the literal meaning, which is not nearly as lenient as the literary meaning, does not coexist with science at all.
The literal reading of Genesis essentially means that readers take Genesis 1 to 3 for what it says and has no hidden meaning involved. This therefore discourages evolutionary and scientific theories such as the Big Bang being developed by scientists. The literal reading is to be interpreted as how it is explicitly stated in the reading material known as the Bible. It is simply seen as 6 days of ordinary length. A hint against the word for word literal translation comes from Genesis 2:4, which states a day is not a literal day as a period of time. It says, "In the day the Lord God made heaven and earth." There is no scientific explanation of anything like the separation of light and dark, land and sea. This may put doubt in many people's minds. For readers, it is a matter of discretion, being Christian or not, to decide whether the Bible writings, specifically Genesis 1 to 3, are evidence of God's existence.
Many people use scientific theories like evolution as means of disproving God exists, such as Stephen Hawking. It can be said that the authors of the Bible did not intend on writing a scientific textbook.
In more modern times, there has been more scientific evidence discovered that can disprove any literal reading of Genesis. The literary reading can easily coexist with science due to its flexibility. This has caused many more modern Christians to take a stand in the middle and pass little judgment on the legitimacy of Genesis.